You got your best friend pregnant, I wonder what he's talking about. A feeling of detachment, as if it's someone else's problem, wells up inside me. But the reality hits me with the words Mary utters right in front of me. Well, that's the situation. So you're going to divorce Tom, right, Yvonne? I can't believe it. Pregnant? With Mary? When I ask back, Mary smirks and continues with a mocking look. You figured it out, right? I'm taking your husband, so get out. Gladly, I reply with a smile and turn on my heel. Mary is really clueless. Does she think I knew nothing? Of course, that's not the case. I've known about their affair for quite a while. I just didn't confront them until I was ready. But now, this saves me the trouble. They've basically confessed to cheating on me, so I'll return the favor with interest. Brace yourselves. Smiling, I head to the front door. My name is Yvonne Kirby. I'm a part-timer at a supermarket. My husband Tom works at a car dealership for a well-known manufacturer. I think his salary is decent, but that doesn't mean we're rolling in dough. He needs to look sharp for work, and our daughter Abigail wants to attend a private middle school. She's just started 4th grade, but will need more money for her exams. That's why I work part-time to help out with finances. Ideally, I'd work full-time, but it's not that simple. The first issue is taking care of my mother-in-law. She lives alone, has mobility issues, and is elderly. She gets a pension, but my care and support are essential. The only silver lining is the house my late father-in-law built nearby. She lives there alone, having refused to move in with us to stay in her house full of memories. The second issue is Tom's job. He's always busy, leaving all the household chores to me. If I worked full-time, the housework would just pile up. Staying the course is the most realistic option, isn't it? I just can't take that final step. That's my current situation. But I knew from before we got married that I would be doing the household chores alone and that my mother-in-law would need care, so I'm not unhappy with how things are. But there's one thing I regret becoming friends with Mary, who introduced me to Tom. Mary and I met in college. Back then, I was pretty plain. Mary, on the other hand, was popular and quite noticeable. Sure, Mary looked good and had a likable personality, but that was just a facade. The real Mary was the worst. However, I didn't realize this until much later, unaware. Yvonne, you got something on your mind? Mary would pat my shoulder lightly. I answered a bit shyly, I'm stuck on a report due next week. Is that all? I'm here for you. Let's work on it together. But hanging out with someone plain like me, won't people start looking at you funny? Mary, I glanced around. I felt stares from people wondering why Mary was with someone so plain. I turned away. What are you talking about? You and I have been best friends since we enrolled. Mary's words caused a stir around us. Then she gave a stern look to the onlookers. What? Is it weird that Yvonne and I are best friends? I saw a student shaking their head with a wry smile. Seeing this, Mary pulled me close and declared, we're total opposites, but we're best friends. Everyone be nice to Yvonne, all right? Got it. I heard someone say yes slowly. I started to be accepted, but it was all Mary's scheme. Mary often used the phrase, when I'll do it for you, like I'll hang out with you or I'll wait for you. It implied that I could only do things because of her. She wanted to say that I was too naive to realize this simple fact. So I started to believe that I could do things because Mary was there, that it was all thanks to Mary. Looking back, it was all just in my head. I was just made to believe I wasn't good enough. But oblivious to this, I spent my college years relying too much on Mary. So when Mary asked me for a favor, I readily agreed. You're taking the car dealership's recruitment interview? I was eyeing that place too. Can you give it up for me? But I also... Come on, Yvonne, we're friends, aren't we? Comparing myself to Mary, I always felt inferior. We had similar grades, but she was better in personality and looks. I thought I'd stand no chance if we both took the exam and interview. These thoughts made me back down easily. Then maybe I'll go for a bank job. That's a good idea. You're more suited to be a hardworking bank employee, Yvonne. In the end, Mary got the job at the car dealership and I became a bank employee. Frankly, it all went according to Mary's plan. But back then, I didn't see it that way. I thought I was lucky to get a stable bank job because I gave up the dealership position to Mary. Not long after, Mary came to me with a suggestion. I've got someone I want to introduce you to, Yvonne. Someone you want to introduce. Tom is my coworker. I think he's perfect for you. Why not give it a try? I'm sure about it. Let's meet him. Since Mary says so, it must be true. Let's meet him first. I immediately thought I should meet him. After Mary's introduction, I met Tom. We started dating, and during one of our dates, Tom murmured, Yvonne, you're such a good person. I'd like to marry someone like you. Me? Really? But I can't ask you to marry me, Tom sighed. When I asked why, Tom started talking about his circumstances. He had a mother with mobility issues. Whoever he married would have to take care of her. He was worried about this and couldn't decide to marry. It's okay. I don't mind that at all. I'm busy with work and you'd have to handle all the household chores. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Leave it to me. I really did love Tom, so I thought it was no big deal. That's why I married Tom. But my trust was betrayed. It was years after we got married. It happened when I went to pick up Abigail from kindergarten. Hannah, usually a cheerful mom friend, approached me with an unusually serious face. Hey, can we talk for a bit? Do you have time now? Sure, I'm off from work today, so I have a little time. I had to do housework and take care of my mother-in-law when I got home, but interacting with other moms is also important as Abigail's mother. So I followed Hannah to a nearby cafe as she suggested. Once we ordered, Hannah started to talk. You see, I saw something. Our kids started eating their cakes, and Hannah shared her story. She had been going to a gym near the station for her diet. A few days ago, she saw Tom there. Hannah had met Tom at the kindergarten before, so she recognized him right away, but that's where the problem started. Tom was with an unknown woman, looking quite intimate. Hannah asked me with a stern face, "Isn't that cheating?" Cheating? No way. That can't be, I replied, trying to hide my agitation. Hannah put her hand on mine as I gripped my cup tightly. Why don't we check it out secretly? If it's cheating, we might get some evidence. The idea of checking scared me, but I couldn't just ignore the possibility of infidelity. After some thought, I agreed to accompany Hannah to the gym. On the day, I left Abigail with my mother-in-law and met Hannah in the neighborhood. We headed to the gym together. We entered the gym as trial members. Soon Tom arrived at the gym, but he was alone. No woman, no colleagues, no friends. Hannah's just jumping to conclusions, I thought, relieved. Then a familiar voice caught my attention. Sorry, I got a bit delayed, that voice. It's Mary. My heart skipped a beat. What were you up to? Had a troublesome customer, kept making a fuss. Their cheerful conversation continued. Watching them, my heart ached. Feeling betrayed was the strongest emotion, followed by the shock that Mary, who was supposed to be my best friend, was involved. I took some photos. Is it okay? Hannah's voice brought me back. I nodded, but honestly, I was far from okay. My mind went blank. I don't remember much after that. According to Hannah, who filled me in later, the two left the gym and went to Mary's place. Apparently, I followed them with Hannah and even took photos of them entering the room. I don't remember it, but the evidence was clearly on my phone. With the evidence, it'd be better to divorce, Hannah advised me. But rushing into a divorce wasn't wise. Abigail is young, and I couldn't live on my part-time job alone. Just a little patience, just a bit more, and then I'll divorce him. From that day, I had a new goal in my life to stabilize my living situation and secure a steady income, to save up little by little, so I'd be ready for a divorce whenever it came. I focused on these two things. Yet my heart was far from calm. Every time Tom came home with a nonchalant face, I felt boiling anger inside. But somewhere in my heart, I still wanted to believe in Tom. So occasionally I asked him things like this. Tom, why don't you take Abigail out sometime? Can't do that. You know, being at the car dealership, my busiest times are when everyone else is off. He seemed like he didn't want to deal with our daughter. Child rearing was my job, like he was saying that. I just nodded. Okay, I see. How about visiting your mom on your days off? I don't really have anything to talk about with my mom, but you can't even take care of her usually. Taking care of her is your job, not mine. She's not a kid, so I'll stay out of it. Tom's tone grew stern, seemingly irritated. I closed my mouth, feeling dejected. It seemed like Tom had lost his affection not just for me, but for Abigail and my mother-in-law as well. I felt disappointed, yet somewhere relieved. No more attachments. Those words floated in my mind. The following years were truly hellish. Living with Tom was just cohabitation. We barely spoke and our interactions were minimal. Plus, as Abigail grew older, she started to despise Tom. I don't even need a dad like him, she would say. One day, Tom had to go to the manufacturer's headquarters for work. Perfect timing, I thought, and headed to my mother-in-law's house with Abigail. During Tom's business trip, Abigail and I stayed at her grandmother's house. But the next day, I got a strange call from Tom, who was supposed to be away. You're not home. Where are you? What? I'm at your mom's. What about your business trip? Just get back home right now, he said bluntly, then hung up. Puzzled, I headed home. Entering the house, I heard the TV in the living room. Tom, did something happen on your trip? I asked as I opened the living room door. At that moment, I saw Tom talking with Mary, but as soon as he noticed me, Tom pulled away from her. Then he got down on his knees. I got your best friend pregnant. What is he talking about? I thought, feeling detached like it was someone else's issue. But reality struck with the words Mary blurted out right in front of me. Well, that's how it is. So you're going to divorce Tom, right, Yvonne? You're pregnant, Mary? My best friend, Mary. Mary smirked and continued with a mocking look. You figured it out, right? I'm taking your husband, so get out. Gladly, I replied with a smile and turned on my heel. Mary really is clueless. Does she think I knew nothing about it? Of course that's not true. I've known about you two for quite some time. I just didn't confront you until I was ready. But now you've made it easier for me by confessing to your affair. Well then, prepare yourselves, because I'm going to return everything you've done to me with interest, I said to myself, smiling as I headed for the front door. Tom yelled as if trying to stop me. You realize we're talking about divorce, right? Are you sure you understand that? I understand perfectly. You think you can make it on just your part-time income after we divorce, Tom sneered. I sighed, then Tom, in his arrogant manner, offered, if you're really desperate, I might hire you to take care of my mom. That suits you perfectly, taking care of the elderly. Tom and Mary burst into laughter. Seeing them, I sighed again. Mary, you finally showed your true colors, huh? What are you talking about? Mary feigned ignorance. I snorted and continued, pretending to be my friend, introducing me to Tom. It was all just to use me conveniently, wasn't it? Oh, you knew, Mary pouted. Yes, I realized your true nature when I found out about your affair with Tom. I showed them the evidence photos of their affair that I had saved on my phone. What the heck is that? Mary rushed over and stared at the phone screen. When she realized the photos were of them, she glared at me sharply. How long have you known? What, about 5 years? Don't joke with me. If you knew, why didn't you do anything? Mary raised her voice. I answered calmly. I was preparing for life after the divorce. I thought I'd be told I couldn't make it on my part-time income. I smiled at Tom, as if saying just as I expected. Tom seemed infuriated by my attitude and suddenly started making a scene. Well then, get out as soon as you can. I'll send your stuff wherever you want. No need for that. Most of my things are already at your mom's place. What? At my mom's. Tom's face changed color. I continued, trying to suppress a laugh. Didn't you notice that your wife's and family's belongings have been gradually disappearing? That's, pathetic in more ways than one. I snorted. Tom, clearly agitated, raised his voice. Enough then. There's no more to talk about. I'll be claiming alimony later. I'll give you the divorce papers then. Do whatever you want. Just be prepared. The cost of cheating isn't cheap. I looked back and forth between Tom and Mary, then left the house, heading straight to my in-laws' place. Abigail was preparing dinner when I arrived. Welcome back. What was it, Mom? Actually, I hesitated. Abigail is still in elementary school. The news of her parents' divorce might shock her. Should I tell her the truth? I was uncertain, but Abigail, as calm as ever, asked, is it about the divorce? If so, I'm all for it. Aren't you shocked? Abigail. I don't need a dad like him. That's Abigail's catchphrase. So she was actually supporting the divorce. I finally realized how she felt. Abigail, I'm sorry, I've caused you trouble. I'm fine, but Grandma. Abigail glanced at my mother-in-law. Realizing, I turned to her. Mom, It's okay, it's Tom's fault, isn't it? Well, yes, but I averted my gaze. Then my mother-in-law patted my head. So you moved things along because you saw this coming. Yes, but what about you, Mom? It's fine, I've made up my mind too. My mother-in-law smiled warmly. I felt a sense of relief and, at the same time, tears started to flow. I had actually been encouraging her to consider moving into a care facility. It wasn't that I didn't want to take care of her. It was to ensure she wouldn't be in trouble when I got divorced. So I was glad she was positive about moving into the facility. We had already been making progress with the arrangements. All that was left was to get her consent. Then I'll proceed with the care facility arrangements. Please do. My mother-in-law nodded firmly. The next day I began handling various procedures, looking for a new place, finding a lawyer. There was so much to do, especially finding a house for Abigail and me. Comfort was key. I visited several real estate agents. 3 days later, as I left a real estate office, my phone started ringing. Who could it be? Hello. The moment I answered, a loud voice blasted through. How many times do you think I've called you? Mary. I instinctively pulled the phone away and murmured, yes, it's me. Mary, where are you? At a real estate office. Why, as I asked, Mary's voice got even louder. Real estate? Looking for a house with stolen money, are you? Stolen? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. The passbook Tom gave me was empty. I tried to calm my breathing, and I revealed the truth. The account was empty from the start. We were always struggling financially. Don't lie. Tom's company pays well. There's no way you had financial troubles. Mary's loud voice hurt my ear. I brought the phone back to my face and continued. Well, no matter how good the salary, supporting a lover as well would naturally drain it. What do you mean? You still don't get it? That's why I patiently explained it to her. Actually, Tom had been splitting his salary into two parts, one for supporting our family and the other for spending on Mary. It looked like about 70% was for us and the rest was used for Mary. I found out about this after I discovered their affair. Wanting more evidence, I hired a professional to investigate. That's when the salary issue came to light. When I told Mary this, she raised her voice in disbelief. What? You lived on 70% of his salary? That's impossible. Stop lying. That's why I was working part-time, but that's... Mary stuttered. I pressed on. So there's no money left. But you must have some. Give it to me then. Her audacity was astonishing, but I couldn't just let it slide. I only have what I earned myself. If you have a problem, I'll add it to the alimony. Add to it. Wait. Yes, the alimony I'll demand from you as the mistress. I was thinking of the usual amount, but since you're complaining, I was cut off as the phone call abruptly ended. After that, Mary didn't answer any of my calls. She must be reflecting, I thought. But it seemed not. The next day, Mary called again. As soon as I answered, she started yelling. Where did you hide her? You don't answer my calls, and now what are you talking about? That woman, where did you put her? Who was she talking about? Surely not Abigail. What did she mean? As I pondered, Mary couldn't hold back and shouted, Tom's mother. She's got money, right? She's not at home. Where did you hide her? Oh, you mean Mom. Where is she? Tell me, Mary screamed. She seemed quite desperate. Realizing she was planning to ask my mother-in-law for money, I firmly refused. Sorry, but I won't tell you. Why not? She's got money, right? If not, sell the in-laws' house. Mary's greed was on full display. She talked about taking my mother-in-law's money or, failing that, selling her house to get the cash. She repeated this several times. Sighing, I asked Mary, you sure you want to discuss this with me? Doesn't matter. Once the divorce papers are in, you're just a stranger. That might be true, but what if I told my mother-in-law about her plans? Mary seemed unable to even consider that possibility. Had they been squandering that much money, I was baffled. But then I reconsidered. It's too much trouble, so I'll tell you about my mother-in-law. You should have confessed from the start. Where is she? In a senior care facility. The addresses I gave Mary, the address I had noted down. Mary began to laugh. Haha, I'll go there right away and start the process to sell the house. That's impossible. Why? Are you upset? No, it's just that the house doesn't exist anymore. As I said this, Mary's laughter abruptly stopped. After a pause, she cautiously asked me, what do you mean? My mother-in-law sold the house. The money was used for her care facility admission. Sold it, I recalled, when I first suggested the care facility to my mother-in-law. She initially refused, citing the lack of funds for admission. That's when I proposed selling the house. She hesitated, but eventually decided to sell. We didn't want Tom to catch on to our plans until I brought up divorce, so she continued living in the house, paying rent, until our divorce discussion started, and now, here we are. So she doesn't have any money left. That's right. This is your fault. Don't forget this. With a scream that sounded like death throes, Mary hung up the phone. Anyway, she must have given up by now. Let those two do whatever they want, I thought as I methodically proceeded with the divorce procedures. First, I hired a lawyer to claim alimony. I was sure they would resist, but surprisingly, they accepted the amount suggested by the lawyer. Later, I received the alimony through the lawyer. At the same time, I signed the divorce papers and had them delivered to Tom. Tom apparently signed them readily, and I successfully completed the divorce. It took 3 months to finalize everything. It was tough, but I'm glad I persevered. Relieved, I went to thank my lawyer. That's when I was handed something unexpected, a wedding celebration party invitation. It was an invitation to a wedding party. Mary, not knowing my home address, had left it with the lawyer. Was she inviting me to gloat as the woman whose husband was taken away? I was about to tear it up right there, but then I had a second thought. Tom's associates would surely be at the party. Maybe I could do something. I contacted a certain person. Sure enough, they too had received an invitation. So I decided to attend the wedding party. The venue was a hotel's banquet hall. It was called a party, but it was essentially a wedding reception. They really went all out, despite having no money. As I was thinking this, a voice came from behind. Thank you for coming. I turned around to see Mary in a dress with Tom beside her. If you're going to do this, you might as well have had a wedding. Sorry, I can't wear a wedding dress because I'm pregnant. Mary was clearly heavily pregnant. She was willing to go this far just to humiliate me. I responded, looking away, oh, right, but I'm glad you came. I thought you wouldn't. Mary made a show of pretending to cry. Don't cry now, I said, knowing full well I looked around, noticing people quickly avert their eyes. Mary must have said something convenient for her. The atmosphere felt oddly cold. If that's how they want to play it, I'm ready to go all out. A fire ignited in my heart. Pretending to console Mary, I scanned the room for someone. Soon, I found the person I was looking for. Oh, sorry, I see someone I know, I said quickly, excusing myself. For some reason, Mary followed me, but I expected this. She would want to make a spectacle of me, I thought. So, with that in mind, I decided to leave the place. I approached the person from behind. Sorry to keep you waiting, the person turned around at my voice. It was Hannah. Oh, you're already here. Yes, just greeted my ex-husband and his new friend. As I gestured towards them, Tom suddenly became flustered. He awkwardly bowed to Hannah. Thank you for coming today, but why is Yvonne's friend here? I'm accompanying my husband. You know, I don't think you've met him yet. Hannah smiled and pulled the arm of a man standing beside her. Tom's face went pale. Hannah introduced her husband to Tom. This is my husband, Ted. He owns a local supermarket and is a customer of your company, mister. Scott. Tom looked away, embarrassed. Hannah's husband was a VIP customer of Tom's company. He bought not only his own car, but also Hannah's car from Tom's dealership. He even referred his supermarket employees to Tom's company. In other words, he was a very important customer to Tom. It's no wonder Tom was panicking. Amidst this, Hannah introduced me to her husband. This is my friend Yvonne. We're partners in an investment company. As Hannah said this, Mary's face changed color. Investment company. What's that? Exactly what it sounds like. Tom's salary wasn't enough, so I've always been investing, and it grew into this. This happened right after I discovered Tom and Mary's affair. I realized I needed a stable income for the divorce. That's when I turned to investing, something I started after getting married. Being a former banker, I had some knowledge about investments. Increasing my investment amount turned out to be a huge hit. Before I knew it, I had a stable income from investments. I told Hannah about it, and she became interested. We started investing together, and soon other mom friends caught wind of it. Then we thought, why not start a company? So we did. And that's how we started our business. So after the divorce, I started working at the investment company. I have a good income now, and I'm glad I got divorced. What? What do you mean? How about you? Did you manage to get the money? Mary looked away, obviously upset. I continued with a smile. Well, you must be in a tougher financial situation now, eh? Because Tom is in such a state, right? I pointed to where Tom was kneeling. Apparently, he had been scolded by Hannah's husband. I'm sorry, my affair caused all this. I'll be honest from now on. Please continue doing business with us. Tom was desperately apologizing, but Hannah's husband ignored him. In the end, Tom was left in the lurch. After losing an important client, he became an outcast at work, talked about behind his back by bosses and colleagues. Unable to bear such a life, Tom resigned. Meanwhile, pregnant Mary pressed Tom for a divorce. But being pregnant, she couldn't work. Reluctantly, she decided to divorce after giving birth. As of now, they are in the middle of a messy divorce trial. To pay for the trial, Tom works at a construction site and Mary works at a nightclub. They're both working hard just to slander each other in court. I heard all this from my mother-in-law. I still visit her after the divorce. Abigail is her granddaughter, after all. Abigail is preparing for her middle school entrance exams next year. Mom, is it okay if I go to private school? Do we have enough money? Of course, dear. Mom will work hard, so you should too. Okay. I want to be like you, Mom, so I'll do my best. Abigail gave me the strength to keep going. I met my true friend Hannah. My happiness is all thanks to Abigail. I'd do anything for her. That's how strongly I feel.